The stillness in the room was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wasn't the peace that comes from quiet reflection, nor the calm of a restful home. No, this was something sharper, more suffocating. My name is Evelyn, and I'm sitting by my husband Jacob's bedside in a cold, sterile hospital room. As the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor counts down the final moments of his life, I am alone, utterly alone. I had been here for days, weeks even, watching him slip away in the most painful way imaginable. He was my world. He had been since we were young, full of hope and dreams. A world I had built with him, a world of shared memories and quiet love. Now, in the humdrum of hospital machinery and antiseptic smells, that world is shrinking around me. The city outside, with its endless cars and bustling people, feels like a distant echo, a reminder of everything I no longer have. How could they all be going on with their lives when mine was crumbling? Jacob's chest rises and falls beneath a thin, white sheet, each breath shallow and weak. I sit there, my hand gently resting on his, tracing the familiar calluses that tell the story of a man who worked tirelessly for the family we had built. The hands that had held mine when we took our vows, the hands that had built our home, one board at a time, the same hands that had cradled our children when they were babies, offering tenderness and love. How strange it feels, now to hold that hand as it grows colder by the hour, a silent reminder of how close I am to losing him. Dr. Jensen, a young man with soft eyes that reflect a tiredness far beyond his years, enters the room to check on Jacob's vitals. His eyes fall briefly to the empty chair next to me. An unspoken question hangs in the air. He's not the first to ask, and he won't be the last. "How are the kids?" he asks softly. It's a simple question, one that I should answer truthfully, but the truth is not something I'm willing to share, at least not with him. Not right now. I've been protecting myself from the truth for weeks. My children have been absent, both physically and emotionally, throughout this entire ordeal. I am here alone, with Jacob, and it seems that's where I'll remain. They're busy, I say, the lie slipping out easily. They've always been busy. Work, family, you know how it is. I swallow the bitterness rising in my throat, avoiding his gaze, to tell him the truth, that my children, Mark and Sarah, had hardly called, let alone come to visit, is too painful. They've been too preoccupied with their own lives to see what's happening to their father, to us. I could feel Dr. Jensen's sympathy as he nodded, but I knew he didn't fully understand. I pick up the Kindle Paperwhite Jacob bought me last Christmas, the one he was so proud of, the one he thought would make reading easier for my eyes. He had always been so thoughtful, always thinking of ways to make my life better. He'd show me how I could enlarge the text, and we'd both laugh about how my eyes seemed to be getting older with each passing year. He was right, of course, but in this moment, the light from the Kindle screen felt cold and alien. I stare at the words on the page, but they're just black marks on a white page, nothing of significance, nothing that can hold my attention for more than a few seconds. My phone vibrates beside me. I almost don't want to answer it, but I do. Maybe, just maybe, this time it's different. Maybe Mark will call to see how his father is doing. Maybe Sarah will be concerned. But no, it's Mark, and his voice is as distant and emotionless as ever. He asks for an update, but there's no warmth in his words, no true care. He's preparing for an important shareholder meeting, he says, and asks me to keep him posted. His words, though intended to sound reassuring, fall flat. There's no concern for me, no acknowledgement of how I'm holding up, no asking if I need anything. His tone is clipped and professional. He's just ticking off a box, fulfilling an obligation. The call ends, and I place my phone back down on the table. The silence that follows is deafening. It feels like the whole world has disappeared, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my grief. I know I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. It hurts deeply, to hear him speak to me this way. I thought for a brief moment that he might be different, but I was wrong. A few moments later, the phone buzzes again. It's Sarah. At first, I'm hopeful, thinking maybe she's calling to check in, to see how I'm doing. But her tone is impatient from the very first word. She complains about the hospital smell, the hassle of funeral arrangements, and the inconvenience of everything. She says I should hire a private nurse, use Jacob's life insurance to pay for it. She doesn't ask how I'm holding up, doesn't offer any comfort. It's all business with her. She speaks of her father's impending death, like she's discussing an expired asset that needs to be managed. As I listen to her voice on the other end, I feel something inside me snap. There's a tightness in my chest, a physical ache. It's as if the pain of years of her indifference is finally breaking through. She talks about Jacob as if he's a burden, something to be dealt with. And in that moment, I realize something that hits me like a wave. I've been invisible to them for a long time now. They've only ever seen me as a convenience, a caretaker, someone to be managed, not loved. I sit there in the hospital room, my heart heavy, and I wonder, how did we get here? How did the family we built, the love we shared, the sacrifices we made for them, come to this? How did I end up here, in this sterile room, alone with my thoughts, with nothing but the ticking of a clock and the beeping of a machine, to remind me that time is running out? I look at Jacob, his face peaceful in sleep, his features softened by age and illness. I reach for his hand again, feeling the familiar warmth, and I remember the man he was, the man who built everything for us, the man who gave everything for them. And I realize, as the silence stretches between us, that I can't stay in this silence anymore. Something inside me is starting to shift. The numbness is giving way to something else, something I don't fully understand yet, but I know it's coming. The storm both outside and within me is about to break.
Before I continue, I want to ask all of you to please give a like to this video and subscribe to my channel, The Silent Stories, for more stories like mine. Your support means the world to me. Also, I'd love to know where you're watching from, so drop a comment telling me which country you're tuning in from. It's incredible to see how far this community of wonderful people has grown, and I'm so grateful to be able to share my story with you.
I sit in the hospital room, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on me. Jacob's hand is growing colder by the minute, and the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor becomes both a comfort and a torment. Every beep is a countdown, each one bringing me closer to the moment when I will have to say goodbye to the love of my life. The quiet buzz of the hospital lights overhead seems to intensify as I think about the life we built together, and the emptiness now creeping in. But as I sit there, I can't help but feel the absence of my children. Mark and Sarah, my grown kids, have been so distant. I've been holding on to hope, even if only by a thread, that they'll show up, that they'll offer some comfort, some acknowledgement that they care. Yet I know deep down that I'm holding on to a fragile illusion. They've been absent in the most important moments of my life, and it's like they're too busy with their own lives to see the real pain I'm in. Dr. Jensen walks in again, his expression as kind as always, but there's a weariness in his eyes that speaks volumes. He checks the charts and glances at the empty chair next to me. His gaze lingers for just a moment, but he doesn't say anything. He knows, he can tell the family is missing, even without my telling him. The question is unspoken, but it hangs in the air. "How are your children holding up?" he asks gently. I hesitate. My chest tightens. The truth feels too painful to say out loud, but it also feels too easy to lie. A lie that I've been repeating, to myself and to others. For weeks now, I say it again, almost robotically, as if it's my only option. "They're busy," I answer. My voice shaky but calm. "Work, you know. Families of their own." I force a smile, though I can feel the words catch in my throat. I lie so easily these days, almost too easily. I've been lying to myself as much as anyone else. Doctor. Jensen doesn't press further, perhaps because he's seen enough to know how painful it must be to live in the silence of my own family's indifference. He simply nods, offering me a quiet, almost apologetic smile, and leaves the room. The door clicks softly behind him, and I'm left alone again, in a room full of beeping monitors and sterile smells. I don't even feel the warmth of Jacob's hand anymore. It's just there, a lifeless weight in mine. I look down at my phone as it buzzes again, the vibration breaking the fragile stillness. My heart skips a beat, and I almost convince myself it's Mark. Maybe, just maybe, he's finally calling to check in, to tell me he's coming, but when I answer, it's not Mark's voice on the other end. It's Sarah's. Her voice is sharp, impatient, like a business transaction being conducted with a great deal of inconvenience. She barely asks about her father. She complains about the logistics of everything. The funeral arrangements, the flights, the difficulty of organizing it all. And then, almost as an afterthought, she tells me I should hire a private nurse for Jacob, using his life insurance money. She doesn't even offer any condolences, not a word of sympathy. Use the life insurance, she says briskly. That's what it's for. You don't need to put yourself through all this. It's a waste. The words hit me like a slap. She speaks of her father, my husband, as if he's nothing more than a line item, an asset to be managed. I can hear the dismissiveness in her voice, the underlying frustration that this situation is even requiring her time. And in that moment, I realize something I've been refusing to see. This isn't about Jacob. It never was. This is about convenience for her, for both of them. It's about making sure everything gets done without any real emotional investment. I hold the phone to my ear, feeling my heart constrict, but I don't say anything. I can't. Instead, I just listen to her talk about the catering for the funeral, about what kind of flowers they'll send. Not once does she ask how I'm doing, or if I need help. She simply tells me what I need to do, and I realize as I sit there feeling so alone, that she has no idea who Jacob really was. She has no idea what he gave up, how much he loved her, or how much he sacrificed for both her and Mark. The call ends and I put the phone down with a heavy sigh. My thoughts race and my chest feels tight. The pain is sharp and sudden, as if a part of me has cracked open. The truth I've been avoiding is right in front of me, too clear to deny any longer. My children have abandoned us. And somehow I have allowed myself to believe that love could be enough to keep us connected. But in the face of all this, I now know it was never enough for them. I sit there staring at the blank screen of my phone, feeling a hollow ache deep in my chest. I could call them out on it. I could confront them, but it feels too late for that. The damage has been done. What I thought was family is just a thin, fragile thread, ready to snap. And yet it's the emptiness I feel the most. It's the silence in their absence that haunts me. Jacob's steady breathing continues beside me, and I squeeze his hand tighter, as though the simple act of holding on to him might keep the world from spinning out of control. But I know that's not possible. The world is moving on, and so must I. It's time to face the truth, even if it shatters everything I thought I knew. I sit there in the dimly lit room, the beeping of the heart monitor, the only sound, cutting through the suffocating silence. Jacob's hand is still warm, though I can sense it slowly fading, his once strong grip now frail. I trace the lines and calluses of his hand, each one a memory of the decades we spent building a life together. Our life was simple, but it was ours. It was built with sweat, sacrifice, and love. And now, here I sit, clinging to that love, while the rest of the world, it seems, has moved on. I think back to those early days of our marriage, when we were young, full of hope, full of plans. Jacob worked long hours at the factory, often coming home late, his body worn from the physical strain, but that never stopped him. After his shifts, he would head straight to his workshop in the basement, using his free time to build, repair, and create. He always told me it was for the future, for the family we would one day have, our kids. Mark and Sarah, they don't even realize, or perhaps they don't care, how much Jacob sacrificed for them. We had always lived modestly, but Jacob gave up so much to make sure they had the opportunities we never had. He worked 2 jobs so they wouldn't have to worry about college debt. He sold his cherished vintage car, the one he had spent years restoring, because Sarah wanted a lavish wedding, one we couldn't afford. But he didn't hesitate. He simply said, "It's for the kids, Ev. It's all for them." He never once complained. His love for them, for us, was unspoken, but undeniable. He believed in the idea of family, the idea that you give everything to those you love, no matter the cost. And for years, that's exactly what he did. He gave, and he gave, but no one ever noticed. Now, as I sit here by his bedside, I wonder if they ever truly appreciated the sacrifices he made. Were they too young to understand, or were they too caught up in their own lives to notice? Or perhaps, as I'm coming to realize, they never really cared. I think back to all the little things Jacob did, things that never seemed like much at the time, but were part of the daily routine. The way he would fix the leaky faucets, mow the lawn in the summer heat, or build shelves for me to store my books. Those were the moments that showed his love for me, but those moments were never truly valued. They were just taken for granted. Now, in the wake of Jacob's decline, I feel the weight of their indifference. Mark hasn't even taken the time to visit, too wrapped up in his own corporate world. He doesn't seem to understand or care that this is the end of something real, something irreplaceable. Sarah, on the other hand, has been too preoccupied with her own discomforts to see beyond the inconvenience of the situation. The hospital, the smell, the logistics of the funeral, these are her concerns, not her father's final moments, not the love he gave her, not the years he spent building a life for her. It's as though all of that is meaningless now. I can't shake the memory of the conversation I overheard between Sarah and Jacob's lawyer a few years ago. I hadn't meant to listen, but their words have haunted me ever since. They had been discussing finances. Of course, they always were. Jacob had always made sure everything was in order. But in that moment, I heard Sarah speak with such casual disregard for everything Jacob had worked for. She had said something that still rings in my ears. "We'll just sell the house when the time comes. It's just an old house, really. It's not like it's worth anything." She had said it so easily, so dismissively, as though the house Jacob had poured his blood, sweat, and tears into was just another commodity to be disposed of. The truth hit me like a brick to the chest. For all these years, I had thought we were building something together, something that would last, something that would be passed down to our children. But now I see it. They see it as just a house, a structure. They don't see the love and effort and sacrifices that went into it. To them, it's just an asset to be liquidated when it's no longer convenient. Just like everything else, I squeeze Jacob's hand tighter, and for a moment the room feels even quieter, as if the world outside has faded entirely. The storm outside is still coming, but in here the storm is inside me. The ache of realization grows with each breath. I had spent so many years believing that if I gave everything they would see it, that they would understand, but they didn't. They haven't, and now it's too late to change that. Jacob's legacy, our legacy, has been reduced to a series of numbers on a balance sheet. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself, trying to push the pain aside, but it lingers, thick and painful, as I sit in the quiet of the hospital room. I wonder if Jacob ever felt the weight of this, if he ever saw what I see now, or was he too busy giving, too busy loving, to notice how much he was being taken for granted. The truth is overwhelming. The truth is that I have been left with nothing but memories, nothing but this empty room and a cold hospital bed. And the truth is that I now have to face something that feels impossible. I have to let go of the idea that our children, our family would ever understand what we gave them. They've already made their choices. They've already moved on. And now I have to do the same. The hours dragged on, the silence in the room only broken by the occasional beeping of the heart monitor. I sit in the same chair by Jacob's side, my hand resting in his, as though my touch could somehow keep him tethered to me a little longer. But I know better. The inevitable is coming, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. The outside world feels like a distant place I can no longer reach. The city of Atlanta, bustling with people and life, feels as if it belongs to someone else. Here, in this small, sterile room, my world is collapsing. I look at Jacob's face, peaceful in his sleep, but the lines of age and illness are there, etched deeply into his skin. This man who had been my everything, my partner, my love, my support. The memories of our life together flood back in waves, our years of laughter, of dreams, of raising a family, and now it's all slipping away. As I sit there, feeling the weight of the silence press against my chest, there's a soft knock at the door. It's Mrs. Clark, our neighbor. The door creaks open, and her familiar, warm face appears in the doorway. I almost don't want to admit how much I've been longing for someone to talk to, someone who might actually see me, who might offer something genuine in this sea of indifference. Mrs. Clark has always been the kind of person who remembers the small things, the things that matter. Evelyn, dear, I brought you some soup, she says, with a soft, kind smile. Her hands, though weathered by age, hold a small thermos with a gentle tenderness. I don't know why, but the sight of her kindness, something so simple, brings the tears I've been holding in so long to the surface. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until the smell of chicken noodle soup filled the room. It smells like thyme and rosemary, comforting in a way that nothing else has been for days. For a moment, I allow myself to feel the warmth of her gesture, to take a breath and let go of the pain. You have to eat something. Evelyn, Mrs. Clark says softly, pressing the warm container into my cold hands. It's not good to keep everything inside. I manage a weak smile, still feeling the sting of tears I haven't yet allowed myself to shed. I nod, and she sits beside me, settling into the chair that Jacob once sat in when he'd talk about his day, his dreams, the little victories and frustrations of his life. Mrs. Clark doesn't press me to talk. She just waits, as if she knows that sometimes silence is the only thing that can be shared in moments like these. She sips her tea, and for a brief moment I feel like a human again, like I'm not invisible. We talk, not about anything particularly important, just small talk about the weather, about the stubborn weeds in her garden that I know she's been battling for weeks. But it feels good to talk, to hear someone else's voice, someone who remembers the past and the little things that once made up the fabric of life. She asks about Jacob, and we share some stories about the good old days, the block parties, the summer barbecues, the way Jacob used to insist on grilling even when it rained. Her words, though simple, have a way of bringing me comfort. They are grounded in something real, something genuine. As we talk, I feel a sharp contrast to the coldness I've been receiving from my own children. Mrs. Clark's kindness stands in such stark relief to the indifference that has consumed Mark and Sarah. She doesn't try to fix things. She doesn't offer advice on what I should do next. She simply sees me. She knows I am here, suffering, and that's enough. Her presence is a balm, and I realize in that moment just how much I've been craving real connection, something beyond the cold transactional conversations with my children. Her words come slowly, gently as she looks at me with eyes full of quiet understanding. I've been your neighbor for over 30 years, Evelyn. I've seen how hard you've worked. I've seen Jacob out there in the yard, working on his garden, fixing things around the house. I've seen you carry the heavy groceries by yourself, seen you sitting on this porch alone at night after he's gone to bed. Her voice trembles just a little, but it's not from pity. It's from something deeper, something that feels like empathy. Children today, they're different. They're in such a hurry to go on with their lives. It's a different world now, Evelyn. A faster world, but don't you dare blame yourself for it. Don't you dare. I don't know what I was expecting from Mrs. Clark, but I wasn't prepared for her kindness to break me so completely. She knows. She's seen it all, and she's speaking the truth I've been too afraid to admit. Mark and Sarah, they've left me behind, slowly and steadily, in their quest for their own lives, their own goals, their own plans, and I've allowed it. I've allowed myself to be invisible to them, because I was so focused on the idea of family, the illusion of what we once were. But Mrs. Clark sees me, she sees the truth, and in a way that is enough. It's the first time in days that I've felt like someone understands, and it makes all the difference. I want to cry, to let the floodgates open, but I don't. Instead, I take a deep breath and try to steady myself. Thank you, Mrs. Clark. I say quietly, you don't know how much this means to me. She simply smiles, her eyes kind, and squeezes my hand. You're welcome, Evelyn. You've been a good friend to me for so many years. It's the least I can do. The conversation drifts back to the small things, the weather, her roses, how the neighborhood's changed. But even in the simplicity of it all, there's something profoundly healing about just being seen. As she leaves, I feel a little less alone. And for the first time in days, I feel a small flicker of hope, a small spark of strength that I can carry with me, a reminder that there are still people who care, people who see, people who remember. It's not much, but it's enough to keep me going for now. The day drags on, but time feels both stretched and fractured. I am still sitting by Jacob's side, my hand in his, but the warmth is slowly leaving him. I don't want to face it, don't want to acknowledge the fact that these are the last moments we have together. The monitor continues to beep steadily, a reminder that his life is still tethered to this world, but I know that time is running out. The quiet in the room feels unbearable now. The silence feels like a weight pressing on my chest. It's a suffocating quiet, a silence that only seems to grow heavier as the hours pass. The air is thick with anticipation, with something I can't name but feel deeply. And then, just as the last ounce of hope I've been clinging to is finally unraveling, Dr. Jensen enters the room again. This time, his face is softer, more somber. I can see it in the way he moves, the way he doesn't quite meet my gaze. He checks Jacob's vitals, takes a deep breath, and finally speaks in a voice that carries a weight heavier than any of his medical terms could. Evelyn, he says gently, Jacob's condition is worsening. I'm afraid he doesn't have much time left. It's not a surprise. It's what I've known was coming, what I've feared for days now. But hearing it from someone else, hearing it from a doctor, it feels like the final confirmation. I think it's time. He continues, his voice filled with compassion. Would you like to call your children? It might be time for them to come and say their goodbyes. A chill runs down my spine. The words goodbyes hang in the air, thick with finality. I swallow hard, the lump in my throat growing. I nod slowly, though my mind is already racing. I know what I must do, what I should have done days ago. I take out my phone, my fingers trembling as I dial Mark's number. The phone rings a few times before his voice finally comes through the line. Mom, he answers. There's a sense of detachment in his tone, as though he's still in a meeting, still busy with work. He doesn't even ask how Jacob is. Mark, I begin, my voice shaking slightly. Jacob, your father? It's time. He's slipping away. There's a brief silence on the other end, a hesitation that lingers for a moment too long. Okay, Mom. I'll make arrangements. Just keep me posted, all right? His voice is distracted, already moving on to something else. Mark, I want to say more, to tell him how much it hurts to hear him speak like this, but I don't. I don't know what to say. There's nothing left to say. Instead, I just let the silence fill the space, a stark reminder of the distance between us. Keep me updated, he repeats, his voice cold and impersonal. Then he hangs up, the click of the line disconnecting the conversation as quickly as it began. I feel a lump form in my throat, but I push it down, trying to breathe through the sting. My son, my child, just hung up the phone without a word of comfort, without a single question about how I was holding up. It's as though I no longer matter, as though my grief is just something to be managed. I stare at the phone screen, the words he said still echoing in my mind. Keep me posted. The words taste like ash, bitter and hollow. I try to shake the feeling off, but it lingers heavy and uncomfortable. As I look down at Jacob, my gaze drifts from his face to his hand, still in mine, and the pain that blooms inside me is almost unbearable. It's not just the loss of Jacob. It's the realization that my children are gone too, that the family we built has dissolved into nothing but cold, distant transactions. After a long while, I pick up the phone again, this time calling Sarah. Her voice, when she answers, is sharp and impatient, as though I'm interrupting something important. She doesn't ask about Jacob. She doesn't even ask how I'm doing. Instead, she launches straight into logistics. Mom, I can't believe how much work this is. The funeral arrangements, the flight, it's all such a hassle. I swear everything with Dad is always complicated, she says, barely taking a breath. But don't worry, I'll figure it out. And Mom, listen, you really need to hire a private nurse. You don't need to put yourself through all this. Her words are like knives. The lack of empathy, the way she treats her father like a responsibility, not a person, is gut-wrenching. She talks as though Jacob's death is merely an inconvenience, a burden to be dealt with quickly. The absence of any real emotion, any acknowledgement of the gravity of what's happening, is too much for me. It hurts. Your father, I begin. But the words catch in my throat. How can I explain what this feels like? How can I make her understand the depth of this loss, the hollow ache of being abandoned not just by Jacob, but by her too? But I don't have the words, and she doesn't have the time. She's already moving on, already planning, already fixing the problems she sees. Mom, you really need to take care of yourself. Use the life insurance money to hire a nurse. I don't want to hear any more complaints from you. Just get it done, she says, the finality in her voice cutting through me. I don't even respond. There's nothing left to say. The call ends, and I sit there, numb. I should feel anger, but all I feel is emptiness. What happened to my children? What happened to the family we once had? Where did the love go? I look back at Jacob, his face still peaceful in sleep, unaware of the truth of what has become of us. I squeeze his hand tighter, wishing I could somehow make him understand how badly I want to believe that our family was real, that it wasn't just some illusion I built in my head. But the truth is clearer now than ever. They are gone. And I am here, holding the hand of a man who gave everything for a family that never truly saw him. And for the first time, I feel the full weight of what it means to be alone. The phone call with Sarah ends, and I sit there for a long time, the silence in the room pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. It's the kind of silence that is more suffocating than anything else. I glance at Jacob's still face, peaceful, almost serene, and I feel a pang in my chest. I've been holding on to him, holding on to hope, but the truth is settling in. Mark and Sarah have been absent in the most important moments of our lives, and I'm not sure there's anything left to hold on to anymore. I slowly stand up, my body stiff from sitting for so long, and shuffle over to the small desk in the corner of the room. It's the same desk where Jacob always kept his papers, his ledgers, his bills, his reminders about appointments, all neatly organized in drawers that I hadn't opened in weeks. It feels almost wrong to go through his things now, as though I'm invading his privacy, when it's clear that everything we once shared has already been taken from me. But as I pull open the drawer, my eyes catch something that doesn't belong with the usual clutter of paperwork. It's a leather-bound journal, aged and worn at the corners. My breath catches in my throat. I recognize it instantly. Jacob's handwriting was always neat, deliberate, his thoughts captured in a steady, sure hand. The journal looks small, inconspicuous, tucked beneath old bank statements and insurance policies, as though it's something that never needed to be seen. I sit back down, the journal heavy in my hands. My fingers tremble as I slowly open it. The first page crisp and fresh, the paper still holding the weight of Jacob's words. There, in his familiar cursive, are the words for my Evelyn, my love, to be read only when I am gone. A cold shiver runs down my spine, and for a moment I want to close the journal and set it aside. But I don't. I can't. I turn the page. The first entry is dated more than 10 years ago. As my eyes scan the lines, the words blur at first, but then they become clearer. Jacob had written about Sarah, about how she called asking for money, as she often did. She says she needs $5,000 for a work trip to Bali. I know it's really a vacation, Ev, but I can't say no to her. I freeze, the words cutting through me. Bali, Sarah had always been good at playing the part of the daughter who needed everything. I know it's for a vacation, but I can't say no. And Jacob, the man who would do anything for his children, handed over the money, not questioning what it was truly for. I feel the bile rise in my throat. How could I not have known? How could I not have seen what he was doing, what she was doing? But there it is, clear as day in his handwriting. I can't say no to her. I turn the page, and the entries continue, a steady stream of dollar amounts, all designated as emergencies for Sarah, investments for Mark, and requests that were never questioned. Each entry is a punch to my gut. There's the $47,000 for Sarah's emergencies over 6 years, and the $15,000 Jacob gave up from the sale of his father's stamp collection, so that Sarah and her husband could buy a boat. She was so proud of that boat, Jacob wrote. His words tinged with a sadness that I didn't understand at the time. My hands shake as I keep flipping through the pages. There's more. $25,000 from the second mortgage on the house for a surefire investment opportunity that never paid off. There's another entry for $500 a month for 2 years, sent anonymously to Mark when his first business venture started failing. Jacob had wanted to shield him from the humiliation. He never wanted to make Mark feel like a failure. But the truth was right there in black and white, recorded as if it were nothing more than a transaction. I can't say no to them, Evelyn. The tears come then, not in great sweeping waves of grief, but in small, almost imperceptible drips. It's a quiet sadness, one that feels deeper than anything I've ever felt before. How could I not have seen this? How could I have missed it all? The steady drain of money, the sacrifices he made for them, for us without ever asking for anything in return. But then I reach the last entry, the one that finally breaks me. Jacob had written about the flowers I received every year for my birthday, the gifts he'd arranged for me on our anniversary. I signed the cards for Mark and Sarah. He wrote, so Evelyn will think her children haven't forgotten her. Your smile, my love, is worth more than any painful truth. My throat tightens, and for a long moment I can't breathe. The final betrayal isn't just in the money, it's in the lies he told to protect me from the truth. All these years, Jacob had been carrying the weight of their selfishness and greed. He'd been shielding me from the reality of what our children had become, and I had been too blind, too trusting to see it. I sit there, the journal heavy in my lap, the weight of its truth almost too much to bear. The tears come harder now, but they aren't just for Jacob. They're for the life we built, for the love we gave, and for the children who never truly saw what we did for them. But amidst the sadness, something else begins to form in me, an understanding, a sense of clarity that I hadn't had before. Jacob's love for me, for our family, was real. It was pure, but it had been exploited by the very people he loved most, and now it's my turn to act. I close the journal, setting it down beside me, the last entry burning into my mind. The silence in the room is deafening, but this time, it's not suffocating, it's a silence filled with purpose. I have the truth now, and nothing can take it away. I can no longer be the victim in this story. It's time to take back what was stolen from me, to honor Jacob's sacrifices in a way he never could. I look over at Jacob one last time, my heart heavy with the weight of it all. But there's also something else, a quiet resolve, a new fire that has begun to burn deep inside me. I will not let their betrayal define me, define us. I will make sure Jacob's love, his sacrifice, means something more than the lies they built. The truth will come to light, and I will make sure of it. For now, it's time to begin. The tears slowly dry on my cheeks, and as they do, something begins to shift inside me. The truth that has been suffocating in the silence of this room now feels like a fire, slowly turning the cold numbness in my chest into something sharper, something more powerful. I can't go on living like this, haunted by the memory of Jacob's sacrifices, buried beneath the lies and empty promises of my children. I have the journal. I have the truth. And now I have a choice. I take a deep breath and stand, feeling a sense of purpose flood through me for the first time in what feels like forever. I walk over to the small table where I had left my phone. It's still glowing from the missed calls, the text from Mark and Sarah, the messages that feel like nothing more than distant echoes now. Their voices, once so familiar, no longer carry the weight they used to. I see them for what they are. Two people who have long abandoned their family, their mother. But I can't focus on that right now. What matters is the next step. And for the first time in days, I feel my mind clear. I know what I need to do. I pick up my phone, my hands steady now. I dial the number I've been avoiding, the one I know could help me reclaim the justice that has been stolen from me. The line rings for only a moment before it's picked up. Michael Carter, says the calm, reassuring voice on the other end. Michael had been Jacob's lawyer, a friend, someone we trusted for years, and now I need him more than ever. Michael, I say, my voice firm but quiet. It's Evelyn. I need your help. It's time to take action. There's a pause, a moment of silence on his end. I can almost hear him processing, hearing the shift in my tone. After a moment, he speaks again. Softer now. Of course, Evelyn. What's going on? How can I help? I take a deep breath, sitting back down beside Jacob's bed. His hand rests in mine, still warm though I can feel it slipping away, the life in him fading by the minute. I close my eyes for a moment, thinking about everything that has led to this moment, the years of sacrifice, the years of quiet love from Jacob, and now the truth that he left behind for me to find. It's about the estate. I begin, my voice steady. There are things in Jacob's journal things I didn't know. He gave everything for our children, but it's been used against him. He's been taken advantage of, Michael, and I want to make sure they can't do it anymore. Michael listens, quietly, as I tell him about the journal, about the money Jacob had given away over the years, about the manipulations and the deceit. I tell him about the way Mark and Sarah have treated me, about how they've already moved on from their father's death, as though it was just an inconvenience in their busy lives. I tell him about the phone calls, about the coldness in their voices, and how, even in Jacob's final moments, they're still making demands. I can't let them get away with it, Michael. I say, the fire inside me growing. I can't let them erase Jacob's legacy like it was nothing. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Michael speaks, his voice clear and confident. We'll get them, Evelyn. We'll make sure they don't get away with this. You've done the hardest part, gathering the truth. Now it's time to make them pay for it. My heart pounds in my chest, but this time it's not from grief or fear. It's from something else, something stronger. I feel like I'm standing on solid ground for the first time in weeks. Michael walks me through the steps. First, we'll file a petition to freeze Jacob's estate, to prevent them from liquidating anything before the truth comes to light. Then we'll demand a full accounting of every dollar they've taken from Jacob, every cent he ever gave them, backed by the entries in his journal. And then we'll take it further. Michael suggests I get an independent psychiatric evaluation to preemptively shut down any attempt they might make to claim I'm not of sound mind. It's a move I never would have thought of, but it's a smart one. If they think they can manipulate me, they're in for a rude awakening. I'm not the woman they think I am. I hang up the phone after a few more words, and I sit there, my heart still pounding, but now with a sense of purpose that fills the room. I know the battle won't be easy, and I know it won't be fast, but it will be worth it. I will make sure Jacob's sacrifices don't go unnoticed. I will make sure they're held accountable for what they've done. The next morning, I wake up with a renewed sense of determination. I dress quickly, as though the day is already waiting for me. As I step outside, the sunlight hits my face, warm but fleeting. It's the first time in days that I've felt the world around me with clarity. I stop by the public library. The scent of old books and quiet corners feels comforting. I sit at a computer, typing in words I never thought I'd need to know. Elder financial abuse, probate law, undue influence. I read through legal terms that feel foreign to me, but I take in every detail. I take notes. I absorb it all, because I know this is my only chance. I won't let them have the last word in this story. Later, at a local store, I buy a simple spiral notebook and a pack of pens. I sit at my kitchen table that evening, a new kind of fire burning in my chest. I begin to write, documenting every transaction, every betrayal, everything Jacob did for them. I write their names, their lies, their cold indifference to the man who gave them everything. This notebook becomes my new ledger, my declaration of war. It's no longer a book of grief. It's a weapon, a tool for justice, and as I sit there, the world outside grows quieter. The calm before the storm is here, and I am no longer afraid. I am ready. This battle is far from over, but I will not be the victim any longer. I will be its author, and the truth will prevail. The day of the meeting arrives sooner than I expect, and it feels as though I've been holding my breath for weeks. The air in the house feels different now, heavy with the knowledge that I'm about to take control of a situation that has been spiraling out of my hands for far too long. The plan I've been preparing for, carefully, methodically, is finally set in motion. I stand in front of the mirror, my reflection staring back at me. I hardly recognize the woman I see. The grief-stricken widow who walked into that hospital room weeks ago is gone. In her place stands a woman who is no longer willing to play the part of the silent, invisible mother. The woman in the mirror is calm, measured, and above all, ready. The fire that Jacob's journal ignited in me has become a quiet, unshakable resolve. I've done my research, filed the necessary documents with Michael's help, and secured the proof I need. Now it's time to face Mark and Sarah. I know they think they are coming to this meeting to discuss how to divide up the estate, how to claim their share of what they've always seen as theirs. But they are wrong. This time, I'll be the one calling the shots. When I arrive at Michael's office, everything feels too quiet, too still. It's a place built for business, sleek furniture, polished wood, high-backed chairs, but to me, it feels like a battlefield. This room, with its heavy, dignified walls lined with law books, is the arena where I will finally confront my children. I'm the first to arrive, and I sit at the long, polished table, placing the spiral notebook in front of me. It feels solid under my hands, its pages holding the weight of everything I've learned. The journal Jacob left behind, the truth he wanted me to see. It's all contained in this small, simple notebook. My heart beats steadily in my chest. I open it to the first page, but I don't begin reading. I just wait. I wait for them. One by one, they arrive. First comes Mark, looking as though he's walked straight out of a boardroom. His crisp suit is too formal for this place, this moment, but he doesn't care. He never does. He walks in with that air of self-assurance, the kind of confidence that's built on privilege and entitlement. He glances at me, but there's no real emotion in his eyes, just a cool calculation, as if he's trying to figure out how quickly he can get through this meeting so he can get back to whatever's more important to him than his father's death. Behind him is Jennifer, his wife. She's quiet, distant, her eyes scanning the room with barely concealed disdain. She looks at me for a brief moment, but it's as if I don't even register. I know she's not here for me, not really. She's here because Mark is, and because this is about the money, the property, the things that they feel entitled to. Next comes Sarah, and behind her, her husband Derek. Sarah looks flustered, as though she's been pulled away from something far more important than what's happening here. She doesn't make eye contact with me, not even once. She's scanning the room as if she's mentally calculating the cost of everything, what's worth keeping, what can be thrown away. Her phone is in her hand, thumb already moving in its habitual rhythm. She can't even look at me while we're here, facing what's left of the family, facing the consequences of the lives they've led, the choices they've made. They sit, each of them taking their seat with the same sense of ownership they've always carried. Mark sits at the head of the table, as if it's his place, as if he's already in charge. He looks at me, his gaze sharp, but I don't flinch. Not this time. I assume we're here to discuss the estate, Mark says, his voice casual, almost too casual. We need to figure out what to do with the house, the investments, everything. I don't have all day, so let's get to it. I glance at Michael, who's seated beside me. His calm demeanor reassures me, but I know it's up to me now. Michael has already prepared the legal documents we need, but he's waiting for me to take the lead. I take a deep breath and slide the spiral notebook across the table to Mark, who looks at it with mild curiosity. I watch as his fingers graze the edge of it, then pause. "What's this?" he asks, his voice tinged with impatience. "This," I say, my voice clear, unwavering, "is the truth." I wait as he flips the cover open, not looking at me, but at the pages I've filled. I see him skim the first few lines, his expression unreadable, but then his face shifts. A flicker of recognition passes across his features. He looks up at me, confusion in his eyes. He's trying to process, trying to understand what this is, what this means. He's not used to being confronted with the truth, not the real one. I see Sarah glance at him, a slight frown creasing her brow. She doesn't speak, but I know she's nervous. I can see it in her twitching fingers, in the way she shifts in her chair. "Mom," Mark says, his tone tightening, "what is this? What's going on here?" I don't answer right away. Instead, I let him keep reading, let the weight of what I've written sink in. The entries from Jacob's journal are there, in black and white, everything he did for them, everything he gave. The financial help, the loans, the gifts, each one a small sacrifice Jacob made for them, for his family. And then, the last entry, the one where Jacob writes about how he signed cards for them, pretending they hadn't forgotten me, pretending they still cared. "Mark," I say, my voice low but steady, "I know about the money. I know about what you took from your father, from both of us. All these years of giving, of supporting you both without ever asking for anything in return. And now, it's time for you to face the consequences." The room falls silent. The air feels heavy with the weight of the truth. Mark's eyes flicker to Sarah, then to Derek, who shifts uncomfortably in his seat. The atmosphere is thick with tension now, and I can see them trying to come up with something, anything, to salvage their positions. But there's nothing left for them to hide behind. Michael speaks up, his voice cutting through the silence. "I think it's time we discuss how we'll proceed from here. Your father left behind clear evidence of the financial transactions that have occurred over the years. And based on these records," he continues, gesturing to the journal, "we will be filing a formal request for a full accounting of the estate and freezing all assets until this matter is resolved." I watch as Mark's face drains of color. Sarah's fingers stop moving on her phone. Jennifer looks around the room, unable to hide the anxiety now flickering behind her composed exterior. "Mom, what are you trying to do here?" Mark says, his voice rising slightly. "This isn't necessary. We're just trying to get through this. Get through it." I echo, my voice hardening. You're trying to take everything your father worked for without even a second thought. I've watched for years as you used him, used me, and now you want to erase him from everything he built. I stand up slowly, the weight of the notebook in my hand suddenly feeling lighter, the air around me shifting as I prepare to speak the final words that will end this chapter of my life. I'm not going to let you take anything more, I say, my voice clear and final. I'm taking back control. This is over. The silence is thick, oppressive as they sit there, stunned, the truth sinking in, and as I turn my back on them, walking out of that room with my head held high, I know it's just the beginning of the fight. I'm no longer the victim. I'm the author of my own story, and now the truth will be heard.